The distress signal had been repeating for 6 hours before anyone could reach the ice moon called Veth 4. Dr. Rin Calloway stood in the cargo bay of the medical frigate Mercy's Light, checking her gear for the 3rd time. Around her, the rescue team prepared for deployment. Most of them were Gorvani, massive beings with stone-gray skin and arms thick as tree trunks. They moved with the careful precision of soldiers who knew exactly what waited below. Sketh, the name alone made most species refuse deployment. "You should stay on the ship," said Boral, a Gorvani medic whose rocky face showed something close to concern. "Humans are fragile. The cold alone could kill you." Rin smiled. "I grew up in northern Canada. This is nothing." The briefing had been clear. A drilling operation on Veth 4 had broken through into deep caverns beneath the ice. Something had come out. Insectoid creatures, 6-legged, fast as lightning, with stingers that carried the deadliest venom known to the Galactic Union. The mining colony's 3,000 residents were now trapped in an emergency bunker. Half the security team was already dead. The shuttle dropped through thick clouds of frozen methane. Rin watched through the viewport as the colony came into view, metal structures half buried in blue-white ice. Emergency lights flashing, no movement anywhere. They landed near the main administration building. The cold hit immediately, even through her environmental suit. -80 degrees. Her breath fogged inside her helmet. "Move fast," the team leader ordered. "We get survivors to the shuttle, no heroics." The first body appeared 10 meters from the landing zone. A Melori, tall and silver-skinned, frozen solid. The expression on her face was pure terror. 2 puncture wounds marked her neck. Rin had studied Sketh biology. She knew what those wounds meant. Necrothine 7, the textbooks called the Venom compound. It caused complete nervous system failure in under 3 seconds. No species had ever survived it. The Galactic Medical Database listed 47 documented cases across 12 species, 47 deaths, 0 survivors. They found more bodies as they advanced, workers caught in the open when the attack began. Some had weapons in their hands. It hadn't mattered. The bunker entrance was 200 meters ahead when the Sketh appeared. They came from everywhere at once, pouring out of vents, crawling down walls, bursting up through cracks in the ice, black carapaces gleaming, compound eyes reflecting the emergency lights, stingers dripping with venom that steamed in the frozen air. The Gorvani opened fire. Energy weapons lit up the darkness. Sketh died by the dozens, but more kept coming. "Fall back," someone shouted. Rin was helping a wounded Gorvani to his feet when she saw Boral go down. A Sketh drone had latched onto his back, stinger raised. She grabbed a fallen weapon and fired. The creature exploded. But Boral couldn't walk. His leg was crushed under fallen debris. "Leave me," he said. "Get to the shuttle." "Not happening." She was small compared to him. He weighed at least 400 kilograms. But adrenaline did strange things to human bodies. She got her shoulder under his arm and lifted. They moved slowly, too slowly. The others had already reached the shuttle. She could hear the engines warming up. They wouldn't wait long. They couldn't. 50 meters, 40, 30. The Sketh drone came from her left. She didn't see it until it was already airborne, stinger aimed directly at Boral's exposed neck. Rin did the only thing she could think of. She threw herself between them. The stinger punched through her suit and into her forearm. The pain was immediate and overwhelming, like liquid fire being injected directly into her veins. She screamed, stumbled, almost dropped Boral. He caught her instead. "No," he said. "No, no, no." She could feel the venom spreading. Her arm swelled, skin stretching tight, her vision blurred. Every nerve in her body was screaming. But she was still standing. 3 seconds passed, then 5, then 10. Boral was staring at her like she was a ghost. "Move," she gasped. "We need to move." She didn't remember the rest of the journey, just fragments. The cold, the sound of Sketh behind them, Boral's arm around her waist, half carrying her now, the shuttle's ramp, hands pulling them inside, the door slamming shut. Then darkness. When she opened her eyes, she was in the medical bay. White lights, soft beeping. A Mallory doctor staring at her with an expression of complete disbelief. "You should be dead," he said. Rin looked at her arm. It was wrapped in medical gel, swollen to twice its normal size. Purple and black bruises spread across her skin like a map of pain. "I don't feel dead," she said. Her voice was rough, her throat burned. "You were stung by a sketh," the doctor said, slowly as if explaining something to a child. "The venom should have killed you in 3 seconds. Your nervous system should have shut down completely. Instead, your body—" He paused, searching for words. "Your body fought back. That's what bodies do. Not against Necrothine 7. Not ever. Not once in recorded galactic history." Rin closed her eyes. The pain was still there, throbbing through her arm, but it was manageable now. Survivable. "Well," she said, "first time for everything." In the corridor outside, she could hear voices. Excited, frightened. The word human repeated over and over. Something had changed. She didn't understand it yet, but she could feel it in the way the doctor looked at her, in the way the entire ship seemed to be holding its breath. A human had survived sketh venom. And down on Veth 4, 3,000 colonists were still waiting to be rescued. 12 hours after she should have died, Rin Calloway was the most famous human in the sector. She learned this from Dr. Fenwick, the Mallory chief physician, who visited her room with a tablet full of messages. Medical institutions across 3 systems wanted her blood samples. Research teams were requesting interviews. The Galactic Union Health Ministry had already opened an investigation into what they were calling the Veth 4 anomaly. "You don't understand," Fenwick said, his silver fingers scrolling through data. "Every species we have ever encountered dies from sketh venom, every single one. The Gorvani last longest, about 4 minutes. Most die in seconds." "How long did I last?" "You didn't just last, you survived. Your immune system identified the toxin and began producing antibodies within moments of exposure. Your liver filtered the compound with remarkable efficiency. You experienced extreme pain and tissue damage, yes, but your core nervous system never shut down." Rin looked at her arm. The swelling had gone down. The bruises were fading from black to purple to yellow. It still hurt, but it was the normal hurt of healing flesh. "On Earth," she said, "we have lots of venomous animals, snakes, spiders, scorpions, jellyfish. We've been getting stung and bitten for millions of years. I guess our bodies learned to handle it." Fenwick stared at her. "You say this as if it is normal." "It is normal for us." The door opened. Boral entered, moving carefully on his injured leg. Behind him came 3 others, a tall Cathari, with 4 arms and military insignia, a Mallory in administrative robes, and a human man in a naval uniform, his face tired but alert. "Dr. Calloway," the Cathari said, "I am Admiral Sotha. This is Director Pell of the Colonial Administration and Commander Gavin Nash of the Union Navy." "You're here about the colonists," Rin said. It wasn't a question. "The situation has worsened," Director Pell said. His voice was soft, almost apologetic. "The sketh have expanded their territory. They now control 80% of the surface structures. The bunker is still secure, but power reserves are failing. We estimate the colonists have 4 days of life support remaining." "Standard military intervention is impossible," Admiral Sotha continued. "The sketh numbers are too great for ground forces. Orbital bombardment would collapse the bunker and kill everyone inside. We need a surgical strike. A small team to enter the tunnel network, reach the breeding chambers, and destroy them from within." "The breeding chambers are 3 kilometers underground," Boral added. "Through tunnels filled with sketh, anyone who enters will be stung, many times." Rin understood. "You want humans." "We want volunteers," Commander Nash said. He was the only one who looked uncomfortable with the conversation. "Humans who are willing to test whether your survival was a fluke or something we can replicate." "The projected casualty rate is very high," Admiral Sotha said. "We would not ask this if there was any other option." Rin was quiet for a moment. She thought about the bodies in the ice, the frozen terror on their faces, the 3,000 people waiting in a bunker watching their power levels drop. "One sting almost killed me," she said. "Multiple stings would be worse." "Almost certainly fatal," Fenwick agreed. "The cumulative toxin load would overwhelm even a human immune system." "Unless," Rin said slowly, "we build up a tolerance first." Everyone looked at her. On Earth, some people deliberately expose themselves to small amounts of venom over time. Beekeepers, snake handlers. Their bodies learn to recognize the toxin and respond faster, more efficiently. It's called Mithridatism. If we can survive one sting, maybe we can train ourselves to survive more. "You're suggesting we poison you repeatedly," Fenwick said. "On purpose." "I'm suggesting we give those colonists a chance." Admiral Satha's forearms crossed over her chest. "This is madness." "Maybe," Rin said, "but I've already survived once. I want to know if I can do it again." She looked at the Admiral directly. "You have Sketh specimens, don't you? Captured drones." "Several for study." "Then extract their venom. Give me a controlled dose. Monitor my response. If I survive, we'll know this can work. If I don't, well," she shrugged. "You'll have learned something useful either way." Commander Nash stepped forward. "Dr. Calloway, I can't order you to do this. I can't even officially approve it. What you're suggesting is experimental, dangerous, and possibly suicidal." "I know." "Then why?" Rin thought about it. The real answer was complicated. Something about growing up on a planet that tried to kill you in 1,000 different ways. Something about humans and their stubborn refusal to accept death as inevitable. Something about 3,000 strangers who would die if nobody did anything. "Because someone has to," she said finally, "and I'm already here." The room was silent. Then Boral spoke. "I watched her carry me to safety with Sketh venom in her blood. Her arm was swelling. She was in agony. She never stopped moving." He looked at the Admiral. "If any species can do this, it's humans." Admiral Satha uncrossed her arms. "Prepare the medical bay. Extract venom from the captured specimens." She looked at Rin with something that might have been respect or might have been fear. "We'll start immediately." Rin nodded. Her arm throbbed where the stinger had penetrated. Time to get stung again. The needle was small. The venom inside it was enough to kill a Gorvani in 4 minutes. Rin sat on the medical bed, arm extended, watching Dr. Fenwick prepare the injection. Around her, monitors beeped and hummed. A full emergency team stood ready with every piece of life-saving equipment the ship carried. "Last chance to change your mind," Fenwick said. "Just do it." The needle slid into her arm. The venom entered her bloodstream. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the pain began. It was worse than the first time. Her body remembered this poison, and it responded with fury. Her temperature spiked to dangerous levels. Her muscles cramped so hard she heard something pop in her shoulder. She couldn't see, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. She was aware of voices shouting, hands pressing her down, something cold against her neck. Then darkness. She woke up 6 hours later. Soaked in sweat, throat raw from screaming. Fenwick was standing over her, his silver face pale with exhaustion. "You survived," he said, "barely." "Again," Rin whispered. "What?" "Do it again." Fenwick opened his mouth to argue, but Commander Nash spoke from the doorway. "She's right. We don't have time to wait. The colonists have 3 days left." The second injection came 8 hours after the first. This time, Rin's body responded faster. The fever was just as high, the pain just as terrible, but she remained conscious throughout. She could feel her immune system working, cells multiplying, antibodies flooding her bloodstream. By the third injection, something had changed. The reaction was still violent, but shorter. Her recovery time dropped from hours to minutes. "Incredible," Fenwick murmured, studying her blood work. "Your body is adapting at a rate I've never seen. The antibody production has increased by 400%. "Is it enough?" "For one sting, perhaps. For multiple stings in a combat situation, unknown. News had spread through the ship. Other humans were asking questions, wanting to know if they could help. The first volunteer arrived that evening. Danny Park was a cargo hauler from the colony supply run, a stocky man with a shaved head and calm eyes. He had been on Veth 4 when the attack began. He had seen friends die. "I want in," he said simply. "You understand what this involves?" Nash asked. "Getting poisoned until my body learns to handle it. Yeah, I understand." Behind him came Sergeant Yuki Okonkwo, a Marine with shoulders like a linebacker and a gentle voice. Then Hal Brennan, a quiet engineer who had lost his wife to the Sketh in the first wave of attacks. Then 3 others, 2 men and a woman, all with their own reasons. 7 volunteers, 7 humans willing to poison themselves for a chance to save strangers. The immunization process was brutal. They set up in the cargo bay, converting it into a makeshift medical ward. Screaming became background noise. The alien crew learned to look away when they passed the doors. Not everyone made it through. Lynn, a young communications officer, went into cardiac arrest during her 3rd injection. They saved her, but she was too weak to continue. She cried when they told her, not from relief but from frustration. "I wanted to help," she kept saying. "I wanted to do something." 6 humans remained, 6 humans who, after 72 hours of controlled poisoning, could withstand doses that would have killed any other species in existence. Rin took her final test injection on the morning of day 3. The venom entered her blood. She felt the familiar burn, the spike of pain. Then nothing. "Describe what you feel," Fenwick said, watching his monitors with wide eyes. "Like a bad bee sting, that's all." "Impossible. That dose would kill a Cathari in 8 seconds. "Well," Rin rolled down her sleeve, "I'm not a Cathari." Danny Park was laughing in the corner, watching his own injection site fade from red to pink. "It tickles now. I swear to God it tickles." Sergeant Okonkwo flexed her arm experimentally. "Still hurts, but manageable." Hal Brennan said nothing. He just stared at his hands, thinking about his wife, thinking about the tunnels below Veth 4. Admiral Sotha arrived for the final briefing. She looked at the 6 humans standing in a row, covered in needle marks and bruises, their bodies transformed into something unprecedented. "The colonists have 18 hours of power remaining," she said. "We deploy in 6 hours. You will enter through the emergency shaft on the north side of the colony. From there you travel 3 kilometers through Sketh-controlled tunnels to reach the breeding chambers. You plant explosives, collapse the chambers, and extract through the secondary service tunnels." "Simple enough," Danny said. "You will be stung many times. We estimate a minimum of 30 to 50 encounters with Sketh drones before you reach your objective." She paused. "The casualty projections are not optimistic." "We know," Rin said. "We're going anyway." Sotha studied them for a long moment. Her 4 arms hung at her sides. Her expression was unreadable. "I have commanded fleets," she said finally. "I have led armies. I have never seen anything like this. You are either the bravest beings in the galaxy or the most insane." "Probably both," Okonkwo said. Sotha almost smiled. "Prepare your equipment, you deploy at noon." The 6 humans looked at each other. They had known each other for less than 3 days. They had suffered together, screamed together, survived together. Now they would fight together. Whatever happened next, they were ready. The tunnel entrance was a ragged hole in the ice, torn open by Sketh claws. Beyond it, darkness stretched downward into the frozen earth. Rin stood at the edge, adjusting her headlamp. Behind her, the other 5 humans made their final equipment checks. They carried explosives, basic weapons, and emergency medical supplies. Their environmental suits were standard issue, designed for cold weather, not combat. The Sketh stingers would punch through them like paper. "Comms check," she said. 5 voices responded, clear, calm, ready. "Remember the mission. 3 kilometers to the breeding chambers. Plant the charges. Get out through the service tunnels. Don't stop for anything." "And if we get stung?" Danny asked. "Keep moving. Your body can handle it now. Trust the training." She didn't mention what Fenwick had told her privately. The immunization would protect them against multiple stings from drones, but the queens were different. Bigger stingers, more concentrated venom. A queen's sting might still be fatal even for them. They descended. The tunnels were worse than the briefings had suggested. The Sketh had been busy, reshaping the natural ice caverns into something that suited their biology. The walls were coated with some kind of organic resin that absorbed light. The air was thick with chemical signals that made Rin's eyes water. The temperature fluctuated wildly, freezing in some sections, almost warm in others. And the sounds, clicking, scratching, hissing. The Sketh were everywhere, hidden in the darkness, watching. "Movement ahead," Okonkwo whispered. They pressed against the tunnel wall. Rin killed her headlamp. In the absolute darkness, she could hear breathing, both human and something else. A Sketh drone scuttled past, close enough to touch. Its compound eyes reflected nothing. Its stinger glistened with venom. It didn't notice them. It kept moving, disappearing into a side passage. They continued. 1 kilometer in, they found the first nest. Hundreds of eggs clustered against the tunnel walls, pale and pulsing with something alive inside. The humans moved past quickly, trying not to think about what would hatch from those eggs if they failed. At the 1.5-kilometer mark, the Sketh found them. The attack came without warning. Drones poured from holes in the ceiling, dropping onto the team with stingers extended. Rin felt the impact before she saw the creature, felt the sharp punch of the stinger entering her shoulder. Pain flared, hot and immediate, but manageable. She grabbed the drone and threw it against the wall, crushing it with her boot. Around her, the others were fighting. Danny had 2 drones on him, stingers pumping venom into his arms. He ripped them off with his bare hands, swearing loudly. Okonkwo was using her rifle as a club, smashing anything that moved. Hal Brennan worked methodically, shooting each drone with careful precision. The fight lasted maybe 30 seconds. When it was over, every human was bleeding from multiple puncture wounds. "Sound off," Rin gasped. "I'm good." Danny was examining his arms, 7 visible stings. "Hurts like hell, but I'm good." "Same here." Okonkwo's voice was strained but steady. The others confirmed. Everyone was standing, everyone was moving. They pushed deeper. The second attack was worse. More drones, more stingers, less room to fight. Rin lost count of how many times she was stung. Her body burned with accumulated venom, her immune system working overtime to neutralize the toxin. By the 2-kilometer mark, they were all covered in wounds. Their suits were torn. Their movements were slower, more painful, but they kept going. "There," Hal said, pointing ahead. The tunnel opened into a vast cavern, the breeding chamber. Even from a distance, Rin could see the queen, a massive creature 3 times the size of the drones, surrounded by thousands of eggs. 2 more queens were visible in the far corners of the chamber. 3 queens, Okonkwo muttered. They only mentioned one in the briefing. "Plans change," Rin said. "We have enough explosives, split up. 1 charge per queen, meet at the exit tunnel on the far side." They separated. Rin moved toward the central queen, staying low, using the egg clusters for cover. The queen was focused on laying, her massive body pulsing rhythmically. She was almost in position when the queen noticed her. The creature's head swung around, compound eyes fixing on the human. It made a sound, a high-pitched shriek that echoed through the cavern. The drones responded immediately, converging on Rin's position. She ran. There was no time for stealth now. She sprinted toward the queen, pulling the explosive charge from her pack. Drones stung her legs, her back, her arms. She ignored them, focused only on the target. The queen reared up, stinger extended. It was huge, as long as Rin's forearm, dripping with concentrated venom. Rin dove, sliding beneath the creature, and slammed the charge against its underbelly. She armed it, rolled clear, and ran. Behind her, she heard Hal scream. She Turned, the engineer was down, a queen stinger buried in his thigh. The dose was massive. Even with their immunization, it was too much. "Go," Hal shouted. He was already pulling his own explosive charge, arming it with shaking hands. "I'll hold them, go." "Hal, no. The colonists need you to finish this. Go." Rin hesitated for one terrible second, then she ran. The explosion was deafening. The shockwave threw Rin against the tunnel wall. She hit hard, tasted blood, felt something crack in her ribs. Dust and ice rained down from the ceiling. Somewhere behind her, the breeding chamber was collapsing, millions of tons of frozen rock burying the Sketh queens forever. But there was still one more chamber, one more queen. The mission wasn't finished. She forced herself up. Her body was a symphony of pain. Dozens of stings throbbed across her skin. Her shoulder was swelling badly. Every breath hurt. "Report," she gasped into her comm. "Danny here. Second chamber is done. I'm moving to extraction." "Okonkwo, third charge is planted, heading out now." Two other voices confirmed. The remaining team members were alive, moving toward the exit tunnel. "What about Hal?" someone asked. Rin didn't answer. She couldn't. The service tunnel was 200 meters ahead. She could see the opening, a slightly different shade of darkness in the endless black. All she had to do was reach it. The Sketh had other plans. They came from everywhere. Not just drones this time, but warriors, larger creatures with armored carapaces and multiple stingers. The queens were dead, but the hive was not, and the hive was angry. Rin ran, her legs screamed in protest. Her lungs burned. She fired her weapon blindly behind her, not aiming, just trying to slow them down. A warrior caught up with her. Its stinger punched through her side, and she felt the venom enter her bloodstream, a dose larger than anything she'd experienced before. Her vision blurred. Her legs buckled. She kept running. The tunnel entrance was close now. She could see figures there, human figures, firing back at the pursuing Sketh. Danny's voice was shouting something. Hands grabbed her, pulled her through. "Seal it," Okonkwo yelled. An explosion, smaller than the ones in the chambers, but enough to collapse the tunnel entrance. Rock and ice crashed down, cutting off the Sketh swarm. Silence. Rin lay on the ground, staring at the ceiling of the service tunnel. Her body felt distant, disconnected. The venom was doing its work, and for the first time, she wasn't sure her immune system could keep up. Rin, stay with me." Danny's face appeared above her. His own features were swollen and bruised from dozens of stings. "We need to move. The extraction point is 1 kilometer up." "Hal," she whispered. I know, but we have to go." They helped her stand. The 5 remaining humans leaned on each other, barely able to walk but moving forward, one step at a time. The service tunnel was abandoned. The Sketh had never bothered to colonize it, focused instead on the ice caverns below. The humans moved through it like ghosts, leaving trails of blood on the frozen ground. Halfway to extraction, Rin's legs gave out. "Leave me," she said. The words came out slurred. The venom was affecting her brain now. "Get the others out." "Shut up," Okonkwo said. She lifted Rin over her shoulder like she weighed nothing. "Nobody else dies today." They kept moving. The extraction point was a maintenance shaft that led to the surface. The ladder stretched upward for what seemed like forever. Rin couldn't climb. Okonkwo tied a rope around her waist and the others pulled her up, inch by painful inch. Cold air hit her face. Real air, not the recycled atmosphere of the tunnels. She opened her eyes and saw stars, thousands of them, spread across the black sky of Veth 4. A shuttle was waiting. Medical teams rushed forward, Mallory and Gorvani and others, their faces showing shock at the condition of the humans. "Get them inside," someone ordered. "Full trauma protocols now." Rin felt herself being lifted onto a stretcher. Needles entered her arms. Voices spoke in languages she didn't understand. "The colonists," she managed to say. "Did we save them?" A Gorvani medic leaned over her. It was Boral, she realized. the same one she had carried through the ice 3 days ago. "The breeding chambers are destroyed," he said. "The Sketh are already retreating into the deep caverns. The bunker is secure." His rocky face attempted something like a smile. 3,000 lives, human, you saved them all." Rin closed her eyes. The relief was overwhelming, mixing with the pain and exhaustion into something she couldn't name. "Hal didn't make it," she whispered. "I know," Boral's voice was gentle. "He will be remembered, you all will." The shuttle lifted off. Through the viewport, Rin could see the colony below, lights flickering back on as power was restored. People emerging from the bunker, families reuniting. 3,000 lives. Was it worth it? The pain, the poison, the loss? She thought about Hal holding that explosive charge, buying them time with his own life. She thought about Lynn crying because she couldn't help. She thought about 6 humans who had willingly poisoned themselves over and over, just for a chance to save strangers they had never met. Yes, she decided, it was worth it. The darkness took her again, but this time it felt like rest. The memorial was held on the observation deck of Mercy's Light, with Veth 4 visible through the viewport below. Rin stood with the other survivors, still bandaged, still healing. Danny Park had 47 documented stings. Sergeant Okonkwo had 52. Rin herself had stopped counting somewhere around 60. Their bodies were covered in fading bruises, needle marks, and the pale scars of healed puncture wounds. They looked like survivors of something terrible, because they were. Admiral Sotha read the names of the fallen, the security teams who had died in the first attack, the colonists who hadn't made it to the bunker, and finally, Hal Brennan, engineer, volunteer, hero. "He gave his life so that others might live," Sotha said. Her 4 arms were folded behind her back. Her voice was formal, military, but there was something else in it too, something like respect. "This is the highest honor any being can achieve." After the ceremony, the Admiral found Rin standing alone by the viewport. The ice moon rotated slowly below, its surface scarred by the battle that had taken place. "Dr. Calloway, how are you feeling?" "Like I've been stung by 100 alien insects and blown up twice." Rin managed a small smile. "So pretty good, all things considered." Sotha studied her with unreadable eyes. "I have been in military service for 40 years. I have commanded operations across 12 systems. I have never seen anything like what you and your team accomplished." "We just did what needed to be done." "No," the Admiral shook her head. "You did what no other species could do, what no other species would even attempt." She paused. "When we first encountered humans, many in the Galactic Union dismissed you. A young species from a small planet barely capable of interstellar travel. Some called you primitives, others called you irrelevant." "I've heard the stories." "They were wrong, all of them." Sotha looked at Rin with something approaching wonder. "Your planet tried to kill you for millions of years. Predators, diseases, toxins, climate disasters. You should have died 1,000 times. Instead, you adapted. You became harder to kill. And when you encountered something that would have destroyed any other species, you chose to become even harder to kill." Rin thought about it. The snakes and spiders of Earth. The plagues that had swept through human history. The ice ages, the volcanic winters, the countless extinction events that humanity had somehow survived. "We're stubborn," she said finally. "That's our superpower, we just refuse to die." "It is more than stubbornness, it is." Sotha searched for the word. "Defiance, you look at death and you challenge it, you say, not today. And when death comes anyway, you find ways to make it less effective." She turned to face Rin fully. "The Galactic Union has approved a new initiative. A special unit of human volunteers who will undergo controlled exposure to various galactic toxins and pathogens, building resistance, developing immunities, becoming capable of operating in environments that would kill any other species." "A poison squad," Rin said. "If you wish to call it that." Sotha almost smiled. "The Gorvani have already given you a name. They call you Death Eaters, beings who consume poison and grow stronger from it." Death Eaters, Rin liked the sound of it. Wherever there is a crisis involving toxins or pathogens, wherever something is too deadly for any other species to approach, this unit will respond. The Galactic Union is asking you to lead it, if you are willing. Rin looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there were 1,000 worlds she had never seen, filled with creatures and dangers she couldn't imagine. And somewhere out there were people who would need help, just like the colonists of Veth 4. "I have one condition," she said. "Name it." Hal Brennan's name goes on every mission record. Every operation we run, he gets credit. He died making this possible. He deserves to be remembered. Sotha nodded, agreed. Rin extended her hand. The Admiral looked at it for a moment, then reached out with one of her 4 arms and shook it carefully. "Welcome to Galactic Union Special Operations, Commander Calloway." 6 months later, the first official Death Eater team deployed to a quarantine zone on the Outer Rim. A bacterial outbreak was killing everything it touched. The infection rate was 100%. The mortality rate was the same. The team walked into the contaminated zone without protective equipment. They walked out 3 days later, carrying samples of the pathogen and data on how to synthesize a cure. Every member of the team had been infected. Every member survived. When the local authorities asked how this was possible, the team leader, a stocky man with a shaved head and calm eyes, just smiled. "We're human," Danny Park said. "We've been doing this for millions of years. You just have to ask nicely." He paused, then added, "Or not. We'll probably do it anyway." Across the galaxy, the legend grew. When poison killed everything else, you sent the humans. When disease wiped out entire populations, you called the Death Eaters. When the universe threw its worst at you, there was one species that would ask for more. And they always delivered. Because that's what humans do.